Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
Now, before we hit record tonight, we was talking about go-to drinks, and I think we should reveal this on air. Because, you know, like with Joy and I, we join the call and we have a bit of a chat and we do some stuff and we hit record and we take a drink and all this kind of stuff. And Joy was telling me what her go-to drink was. So, Joy, can you share that with our audience?
So I have this little seltzer water here because both Tim and I enjoy seltzer waters, and it's cranberry lime. And I told him drinking it gives me a little bit of PTSD because my go-to drink at the bar is a vodka cranberry with lime. So there you go.
There we are.
And I asked him what his was, and it was, Tim.
It would be a pint of Guinness. Now, I'm not really a drinker. I don't drink a great deal. I find if you go to a bar and then you have a pint of draft Guinness, the first one is absolutely fabulous. By the time you get to number 2 and number 3 and number 4, it could be anything. It could be dirty dishwater. You lose the flavour because your mouth sort of gets numb to it to some degree. But that first pint of cold Guinness from draft Guinness, not out the bottle, is absolutely superb.
And I judged him for being very UK-ish with his first choice.
And they used to have Guinness extra cold. They used to have that in the Red Line in Twickenham. Like, you'd have regular Guinness, and they had another pump which was Guinness extra cold, which was the same thing, but it was just colder.
I was just like, what makes it extra cold? But you answered that.
I don't know if it had like injected nitrogen into it or something, or whether they had
probably killed a few brain cells.
Yeah, or whether it had a special cellar or something like that. I don't know, but they used to have it. And it had a blue logo on it. I do remember that.
Well, if anyone knows, go tell us on Facebook. We'll take a look.
Exactly. Anyhow, I've decided this week I'm going to bring back the Tip of the Day feature. We had retired Tip of the Day, but I think it's time that the tips return, at least for the short term. So I believe, Joy, you have a good tip for us this week.
Okay, so Tim sent me my Zoom link so I could sign on to do the podcast, and I had to tell him to hold on one moment because I was cooking dinner. And I was getting some yeast rolls out of the oven, just like the sourdough yeast ones that are really good. And we have like 17 pot holders that we've inherited like every other person in the world. Like, do you even buy pot holders or do they just appear in the distance? But anyway, so with that being said, I went to grab a pot holder and I grabbed one of the cheap ones we have that's only like one layer. Well, when I grabbed the rolls, as you can imagine, it burnt me very badly. So my tip is, if you do go to grab something out of the oven and it burns you, your reaction should not be to throw that thing down and then proceed to burn the other side of your head because you throw it down and hit the door. So I proceeded to throw the thing down and burnt the other side of my hand with the door. And Tim can tell you he's seen the evidence because I've been sitting here holding my hand up. And of course, the burn is directly where you bend your finger. So I'm really happy that I work a job that requires me to type for the rest of the week. So basically the tip of the day is if you burn yourself, don't do what you need to do to reburn yourself.
I mean, Joe, your commitment to this podcast, I mean, no one can ever complain about it. I mean, the listenership expect you to have an injury. You don't have to do injuries. I'm just saying.
Well, this one was not my favorite, so I'll skip it next time. All right, Tim, what is your tip, sir?
Okay, my tips tend to be very specific, and this is an incredibly specific tip. So let's say you just got Peacock just so you could watch classic WWF wrestling. And let's just say you've been enjoying classic WWF wrestling and you was watching Royal Rumble from 1988 last night, for argument's sake. And you've been enjoying it, the spectacle of it, the theatre of it, the nonsense of it, how, ridiculous, how the announcers play it straight and they never question quite why the guy's got a snake in a bag or why Coco Beware comes to the ring with a parrot called Frankie, or why George the Animal Steel rips the turnbuckle open and grunts and things. They never question it. And they just, I like the straight man element to this kind of
going on to this
circus show type thing. But I would just say, if you're watching this in 2022 like I am, completely resist the temptation to look up those wrestlers, because you will find that all those people, I won't say all, but a good proportion of those people turned out not to be good people. I mean, a lot of them sadly died A lot of them had heart problems because they were abusing steroids and stuff. And there's lots of them that never made it into their 60s. It's very sad. And in fact, there's a whole Wikipedia article about mortality rates in professional wrestlers. But if you start looking into them and their histories and things they've done and what's happened to them, you find, unsurprisingly, it's effectively a circus sideshow attraction. Unsurprisingly, it attracts people that don't necessarily have the best character. And there were several things I've read I don't really want to repeat, but don't do that. Just enjoy the spectacle of it. Don't look too deeply into it. That's my tip.
Ignorance is bliss is Tim's tip.
Basically, yeah, just enjoy it for what it is and enjoy the fact you watched it when you was a kid and you're watching it again and it's like a nostalgia thing. But you start looking into, they did that and, they said that. And,
So 2 of my favorite shows growing up, 2 of the people who were on it. So I've talked very heavily about my Glee love, and I've talked very heavily. Well, I've never talked about it, but I love the TV show Drake and Josh. Sadly, Drake from Drake and Josh recently did some not good things. And then Glee has a whole slew of, things that have happened with artists who were in it. And sometimes when I'm watching it, I'm just like, I think about it. I'm like, don't think about it. Just enjoy it for what it was in the moment.
Exactly. I mean, that's the problem with the internet, is that you can instantly research everything and find out about what everybody's done, and you don't necessarily always want that.
I have this theory though, Tim. I'm really glad I wasn't a baby or a toddler or something of that nature when the internet was at its height, because I see things that, and this is not every parent, I'm not judging every parent. You guys are doing something I could never do. Like, I don't want to have children. Like, it's not an interest of mine, so on and so forth. But I see parents who post stuff about their kids that's like, oh, look, today Susan ate her first apple. And I'm like, who cares? And then I'm like, I'm glad my parents weren't able to do that to me as a child.
Oh, sure. I mean, my parents didn't have a video camera. I mean, I was born in 1974. Shock horror. People think I'm much older than that, but I'm just saying. Officially, my official birth year was 1974.
Wait. Everybody stop the presses. We're officially going to be able to figure out how old Tim is. He's not 18 and he's not 107. It's in the middle.
But of course, for my early years, video recorders weren't even a thing, really. And then, in the 80s, people had camcorders and stuff. And despite the fact my dad worked in a shop that sold TV and videos and stereo systems, we never had a camcorder or anything like that. It's nothing that my parents ever wanted, or probably they couldn't even afford it because it was so expensive. But if they could have, it wasn't anything that they were interested in. So what do I have as a record of my youth? Is I have photographs that my parents took, and I actually was able to get all my photographs from my parents and from when I went to my granddad's house, and I scanned them all in, and I have them all. So I have that record of growing up. But like you say, would I really want every single piece of my growing up youth in high definition video forever?
No, thank you. But so I have 2 stories that go along with this. This is a music podcast, everyone. We're going to get to the music here shortly. I'll make this quick. One, sadly, what people don't know about me was when I was a sophomore in high school, my house burned down. And I learned a very useful fact. And when I say my house burned down, I mean it burned completely to the ground. We're not going to get into the details. It doesn't matter. It happened. But one thing that survived the fire, there was very few things that survived this fire, Tim, was my high school yearbooks, because they make them fire retardant. Oh, did you know that?
I did not know that. Well, in fact, I have Hannah's high school yearbooks here, and I hope and touch wood that's something I never need to test.
Well, it happened, but thankfully they lived. And then my school was really nice and gave us free copies because they lived, but they looked pretty rough, right?
Sure.
And then the other thing is. This is funny, though. I know that was kind of sad, but this one's funny. So my mom liked the TV show Guiding Light, the soap opera growing up. Mm-hmm. So multiple times. So she would record it she recorded it before we had like a TiVo, back in the day when TiVo was the main DVR or whatever. Mm-hmm. So before we had like TiVo or DVR or anything of that nature, she'd record it on a VHS tape. That's just what she did. Mm-hmm. So every day it would be set to record, automatically recorded. Well, at some point, my mother's going to hate me for putting this on the air, but it is what it is. I told about dad hit me over the head with the board. Mom, you get this one. So she was, she ran out of VHS tapes, and I guess she started pulling them without paying attention. She recorded over a lot of our home videos with guiding light. So we were one day, me, Brandy, my twin sister, and my dad were trying to find some home videos. So we kept putting them in, and we just kept seeing guiding light. We're like, seriously? So then we find one that she didn't record over. And in the video, me and Brandy are probably 3, 4. I had to be 3 years old because it's when I still lived in Florida, because I was born in Florida. And in the video, she screams, "Come inside, guiding light's getting ready to start." And that's the only one we could find. And it's funny. It's not that serious. We think it's whole. You know what I mean, Tim? Like, it's funny that that's the one we could find. Sorry, Mom, put you on blast for that one.
Oh, well, right. we may have lost another listener, but there we are.
Nah, she's my mom. She'll keep listening. If Dad didn't get mad about the 2x4, Mom could listen over the guiding light. All right, Tim, what is the actual music topic so we can finally get into it? Oh, wait, do you want to do CD of the day?
Yeah, I can do a CD of the week. I have one. I have one lined up here, so we can do a CD of the week. Okay, so this week's CD of the week is from Natalie Imbruglia, and it's the album Left of the Middle. Are you familiar with this album, Joy?
Yes, I am. I have that one.
Yeah, this is a great album. I bought my original copy, not this copy. I think this probably came from a thrift shop, which is where every CD I have basically comes from. But my original copy I bought in a shopping centre in Perth, Western Australia in 1998. When this album had just come out. This album came out in 97, but I purchased it in October 1998. And I don't know, I really like this. I don't know whatever became of Natalie Imbruglia. I think she's still out there getting it done.
So she is one of those people that I think there's like a genre of people that were kind of at that moment. It's like her, it's Fiona Apple. It's a little bit, those sound that I really like. Like, Fiona Apple had Criminal, I think, right around the same time as this album. Because for those who don't know, her most famous song is Torn, which is on this album. But it's a great album. And I think I like her voice. And if I'm not 100% wrong, I think she won a lot of awards for this album. Now, I don't know where she's from or like what happened to her. I'm assuming she's still making music.
I mean, she's from Australia, and I think she was an actress before being a musician. I think if she wasn't in Neighbours, she was in like Home and Away or one of those other popular Australian soap operas that were very popular in the UK around this time.
That makes sense. I always kind of thought maybe she's like a model, but actor makes sense too. Because she's got a very iconic look. And in all the photos for the album, like you see her with very distinct kind of model type poses. So it makes sense that she was doing TV and film.
Exactly. Yeah. And as you say, the lead track on here is Torn. But Big Mistake's a great track. Leave Me Alone's a good track. Well, Wishing I Was There. I think that was another single off this album too.
That's the one that I remember being popular as well as Torn.
But yeah, I like it. The other thing is the instrumentation on this album is what I would call proper, I suppose. Maybe that's not the right word, but a lot of people around this time were going for more of a dance sound, more of an electronic sound. And this is the sound of a real band.
Oh, you're right, though. But it's quite kind of like, well, and I feel like her, and I was comparing her to Fiona Apple because for some reason in my brain, those two mesh together. I think it's the sound. It's a very, I don't want to say raw, but kind of pulled back sound. So while it is pop, it's very into, like you were saying, the band is very like, I don't know, proper. And the voice, the vocals are very isolated. It's not like some synthetic kind of pop music type thing.
Exactly. And I actually have a personal connection to this album, or a personal connection to Natalie Imbruglia. So I once played a fill-in gig with the Briefcase Blues Brothers band. They weren't doing their Blues Brothers act, but they went out and did a rock cover band type thing. I think they were called Here and Now, I think, with a guy called Mario Magaro. And around this time, I was doing some fill-in gigs for him. And we played the Walkabout, which is a Australian-themed bar. And this is the one I believe it's in Brighton in the south of England. And the front of house engineer, because they had a sound system in Walkabout and an engineer, the guy running front of house was Natalie Imbruglia's front of house engineer. And he was very complimentary of my guitar tone and guitar playing. So
now Tim is basically a member of the band, as we said many times. Just like, twice removed, maybe a cousin. That's cool though. I mean, it is nice though when you hear stuff like that. And even if it's not directly just for someone like that to say, I like your sound and your tone's
Yeah,
great.
he just came up with he said some nice licks there, man. It sounded great. Great guitar sound, very controlled. And I was like, oh, thank you very much.
Look at you, Tim. Very controlled. Who would have known?
There we are. Anyhow, that is our CD of the week. Okay, so we are going to get into the topic of the episode. Now, this is my topic. And once again, I'm trying to break away from this thing that Joy claims that I only know music made after 1990. Or what year did you decide?
I think it was 94, 93 is what we were going for.
Yeah, so I'm trying to break away from that. And, I did a Katy Perry themed episode a few episodes ago. So I'm well positioned for this topic, which I've decided for this week. So this week's topic, we are going to have a 2000's dance party.
What? Wait, I've been waiting for this my whole life. Maybe the vodka soda should have had vodka in it to get me pumped up. All right. Very excited.
So what I've done is using my skill and judgment. I had a look at dance music or that kind of pop dance music from the early 2000s. Some of them actually go into a little bit later than that, but it starts with the early 2000s. And I was drawing from this rich knowledge that I didn't really know I had until Joy did the Now That's What I Call Music episode, where I was in and around nightclubs in the early 2000s where there were DJs that were playing. And, of course, I just absorbed this music by osmosis. It wasn't necessarily music that I would deliberately listen to, but if you hear it enough, and especially when I was playing with Mario as well, with his Blues Brothers tribute band, we was playing Chicago rock cafes, we were playing walkabouts and other Brannigan's, I think, was another bar that we used to play.
So, speaking of this, you know how you were talking about Kate Bush, like how she's went back into resurgence now?
Sure.
And so 2000s pop that Tim was talking about, that's what brought this up. I was just hearing when you were talking about the Now That's What I Call Music episode, I was just hearing a DJ who was talking about how she's come back in resurgence, and I was thinking of you, Tim.
There we are. See, look at that. And then and we go on from there. And we're now having a 2000s dance party. It all connects, Joy. It all connects.
Who would have thought? All right. I'm excited.
Okay. So I pulled together a list of songs which I was familiar with and I thought Joy would be familiar with. And I thought they would be some great talking points for this podcast. So
all right.
I think I'm going to open with a hit from 2003. And this is Outkast and Hey Yeah.
Okay, so I am very familiar with this song. I still think about the video all the time. I still remember every part. Well, Hey Ya is like Hey Ya. Well, Outkast is a very interesting band because they do a little bit of a rap sound, a little bit of a singing kind of R&B thing. So it's like a mix, right? Mm-hmm. But the video of this song is so specific. Have you ever seen the video, Sam?
Do you know, I don't think I ever have. I know the song very well. And I've played it as break music with bands and stuff. And I knew it from when I was living in England and nightclubs and all that kind of stuff. And it's followed me here as well, where I've put it into break music with bands here. So, but no, I've never seen the video.
So he's wearing like what looks like horse riding clothes. He's got like a green shirt on, and I don't know why the lead singer of Outkast is. And in the video, it's like he's on a stage and he's got a very 1950s looking mic. It kind of looks very 70s-esque around him. There's a live audience. Mm-hmm. And of course, the most iconic part, and everything's green, which kind of makes me feel 70s-ish. I don't know why, but green gives me like a 70s vibe. But in the video, you know, in the song, he's saying, shake it like a Polaroid picture. Mm-hmm. So he literally has a Polaroid in his hand. He's shaking it on him. And like at different times, he looks at, you know, like looks at members in the audience, and it's all girls, of course it is. And like, they're like fainting and stuff as he's looking at him like he's the heartthrob. And that's the whole video to the song. I don't know why he looks like he's wearing horse riding clothes, though, because I mean, he's literally wearing this green tight shirt, you know, like the horse riding boots and like the pants, almost like golf outfit. But I don't know what that has to do with shaking it like a Polaroid picture. Well, someone else can tell you that.
I do know the singer from Outkast is a very keen equestrian.
Is he?
No idea.
I took you serious. I was like, dang. I was like, I've never heard that before. That's new. You know what? What if he is, though? We have no way of knowing if Andre 3000, by the way, that's his name, is actually an equestrian.
And 3000 actually is his official family name?
Well, it's Andre 3000 Benjamin. And then the other guy is Antoine Big Boy. I've never looked it up, but I have a theory it might be stage names, Tim.
Possibly. I like the idea of his family came from generations of 3000s.
But I will say they are notorious for wearing like very eccentric clothing, so that probably plays into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, that video is my favorite. I love, and he sells the song in the video. 10 out of 10. That's a 10 out of 10 for me. Also, that would have been like what year was that song?
2003.
So I would have been exactly 13 years old, so it would have been right up my alley.
Ah, there we go. You was 13 years old. I was playing gigs in nightclubs while they were playing it.
Well, now that you've established what your actual age is, people can start building a timeline.
I know. I feel I've revealed something tonight. You know, I don't know if I should have done that. It's like the bubble has been burst.
You've broken so many hearts, Tim. They've been putting pieces together, trying to figure it out on their own, and you just told them the answer. The mystery is gone. But yeah, I mean, they're known as a hip hop act, but I think there's a little bit of like a singing element to it too. Also, it's just got a great beat.
Yeah,
for, like,
it's got a good
clubs and stuff.
vibe and feel to it, you know.
Yeah. All right, what's the next one?
Okay, so this one comes a little bit later. I'm not necessarily going year by year. I'm just sort of diving through my list. So this one is from 2009, which is a little bit later. So look at this. This is almost bang up to date, 2009. And this is a song by the Black Eyed Peas, and this is Boom Boom Pow.
Okay, so I wanted to sing the next part, but I can't. With that being said, this is a song I'm very familiar with because my freshman year of college was 2009. So I may have been hanging out at parties at that time in my life. And this song was very awesome. Now, Tim, speaking of the Black Eyed Peas, this is not related to the sound, but this song's really good. Did you ever watch the famous Fergie anthem?
Yes, I did. And there's one of the football players. It pans to him, and he's like, "Ooh."
So I don't know how to explain this well without sounding rude because I have nothing against Fergie. I actually liked her as a solo artist, but I wouldn't, put her up like with Christina Aguilera or someone you see singing the national anthem, right? So there's my first problem.
Yeah, and the other problem, and this seems to be a thing with vocalists, probably mostly with female vocalists, though I remember there's male vocalists that do this too. When they sing the national anthem, they don't sing it straight or straight-ish. They immediately are all over the place trying to sing the national anthem. She's
exactly what I was going to get at. Now, when it comes to their songs, you can do that. The national anthem is not the one you do that to because it's not a song people want to hear made into a pop ballad, right, Tim? So a great example is someone who did it clean and did it well was Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga did it straight. She just sang it like normal. She did it the standard way. That's how you should sing that. Christina Aguilera did a little bit of runs, but hers was still... I don't know where the ad libs, and the worst part was, Tim, is they weren't good ad libs like at all. Like when that Destiny's Child did, they put some ad libs in there. When Whitney Houston, who did the greatest national anthem performance of all time, stand by that, she had a little bit of ad lib, a little bit of run, a little bit of. Fergie's not someone who should ever be doing ad libs and runs to begin with, but to do it on the national anthem just. It was too much.
Yeah, I mean, like you make it your own and you add some flourishes to it. But like that, that particular performance, I'm very familiar with, and it is. She goes so far with it. It's like, oh, this is
well. And
good.
The other thing, Tim, is you can make it your own. You can do a little bit of ad libs, but you still have to stay in the right key.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly.
She did not at all. Like, I mean, I could be wrong, but to me. Some of those in like runs, I'm saying runs in quotations because I really don't know what they were. And I do think she struggled a little bit with some substance abuse problems. So that could be part of it as well. Don't know what her mental state was when she was singing the national. I've never Googled that. Don't come from me, internet. That is just what I've heard. I'm just giving her the benefit right there.
Sure.
But Fergie, her real name's Stacey, by the way, if you didn't know that.
Isn't it Stacey Ferguson?
And I know that because she says her name in a lot of her songs and I like her music. But anyway, she's just not the one I would have picked to do the national anthem to begin with. I think that was the problem from the get-go.
Do you remember the Black Eyed Peas Super Bowl performance?
Yeah, I do.
It was not good, was it?
No. That would have been one of the times that I'd have been like, just use a backing track. Do you know what I mean, though, Tim?
And it was so bad when they changed the stage and the stage said love. Some of the stage didn't light up how it was supposed to. It
was just like literally the Titanic of halftime shows.
Yeah, it was not good. You got your Prince, you got your Michael Jackson, you've got the Who, you've got the Rolling Stones, and then you have that.
And you know what? I wish people would learn or take a lesson from Dolly. Like when they wanted to put Dolly in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and she's like, no, I don't deserve that. Or no, I shouldn't be doing that. Or no, that's not me. Maybe if you're in the Black Eyed Peas and you're following up people like Prince, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, even Beyonce, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you say, that's not right for me. I probably shouldn't do that.
Well, you know that Dolly was asked by Katy Perry to do the halftime show, and Dolly said she didn't want to do it.
See? And I think she could have, but I'm just saying, like, just know it's okay to be an okay pop singer. That's fine. You know what I mean, Tim?
Sure.
Like we've said, I like okay pop music, and that's perfectly fine. But know where your lane is, maybe. Fergie just... Bless her soul. But I do like Fergie's music. I am a fan. And I like Boom Boom Pow.
There we are. I like this track. When it came out, there's a line in it that goes, here we go, satellite radio. And apparently Clear Channel bleeped over the bit that said satellite radio because they didn't want to advertise satellite radio.
Well, I wouldn't have nobody would have even noticed. Do you know what I mean, Tim? No. There's so much going on in that song because, like, no one would have noticed. All right, Tim, what's your next dance hit?
Okay, well, I'm completely stepping out of my comfort zone with this one. This is a song I have played many times whilst DJing break music, only here, not in England, only since I've lived here.
Okay.
But this is way stepping out of my comfort zone. And of this person's catalogue, it's the only song I know, and it gets the "it's all right" thing from me. So I'm just saying that's high praise for what I'm about to say.
I'm so excited now.
This is from 2005.
Okay.
And this is Eminem and Nate Dogg and Shake That.
So, as you can imagine, I'm very familiar with this song. And just the way you predecessed that was perfect. Well, I will say it does get people dancing. So you're right on the money with your early 2000s dance. There's a lot of words in this song, though, because there's like a whole thing where it's like get buzzed, get drunk, get crunk, get something, get something, get something. Like there's 74 words to one.
Yeah, it's incredibly wordy. I don't know if the backing track is a sample of something or someone created it, but it has got a good beat to it.
I will say, and I can't say it because we're PG, I like the chorus.
Well, have you ever heard the radio edit of it? It's hilarious.
I have. Now I need to know if there's a kids pop version.
Because it's like, shake that for me, shake that for me.
Well, I mean, literally the first lyrics are talking about something about her bumping and crying in a pole. It probably should have just never been put on the radio. I mean, Tim's right though. It was a hit in all the dance clubs, and I mean, Eminem though is notorious for like he is a really good rapper, but he has a lot of lyrics in one song. Like he has a lot. It's kind of like what is his name?
Marshall Mathers.
Well, not his real name. Busta Rhymes is known for that too, Tim.
See, I was even giving you knowledge. I knew what that chap's real name was.
Look at you, Tim. I like the way you said Nate Dogg too. That made me laugh. His name is Nathaniel. I know that.
Well, there we are.
Look at me, Tim. I mean, he mostly just did like, he's known as like the king of hooks. That's actually what he's known as, because he just does like the hooks on every song. And you know what? I'm going to give him some props, because there's people who do that. So, people make jokes about like, what are they called? The ones that are just like, yeah, okay, in the background of like every rap song.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to give him some praise for that. They got paid for that entire song, Tim, and all they had to do was say, yeah, okay, in the background. And they made the money.
And they probably only said it once, and you put it into Pro Tools or Logic, and it's like copy, paste, paste. There you go.
Maybe we're the ones, we're laughing at them, but maybe we're the ones doing it wrong, Tim. And we just need to put our okay on the background of music. Never have to actually work.
You know what we should do for this podcast is just record a bunch of stories about you, but you are injuring yourself and me buying CDs in thrift shops. And just copy, paste. And there you go. That's the episode every week.
Yay! And then maybe a tip or something about that's not related to music and how you clean your oven. All right. That was a great choice, Tim. I'm glad that you knew about Nate D-O-double-G. All right. We should put a note. We're going to find the radio version and put the radio version on the Facebook group when this episode goes live.
Yeah, because the radio version is hilarious.
Now I need to know if there's a Kids Bop version, but we'll find that out later.
There probably is.
All right. What's our next song?
Okay, so this is a song. I don't know whether you know it or whether it was a UK only hit or whether it was a hit here. I don't know. This is by a Dutch producer DJ from 2004, Eric Prydz, and the song is called Call on Me.
Oh, no, that was a hit here.
It was.
Yeah. I haven't heard it in a long time, but it was like it was definitely like one that you would hear in a club, but there's a remake of it.
Oh, is there?
Okay. So that's the one that's like, it kind of sounds very, but I would imagine Dutch pop sounds, right? You know what I mean?
Well, it famously has this is interesting. It famously, what you think, it has a sample of the song Valerie by Steve Winwood.
Woodward. That's what I was getting ready to say. Steve Woodward.
Yeah. But he doesn't actually say anywhere in Valerie, call on me. He says, Valerie, call on me.
Yeah.
So the words are different. So they contacted Steve Winwood and he re-sang the line to fit their song. So not only did he get a royalties, he got a performance credit as well.
So there's an artist. He does, I can't think of his name. It doesn't matter. I've showed him before. He does mashups and different things, and he's done a version of some Whitney Houston songs. So what I showed you where they're doing kind of like, it looks like they're in an 80s like aerobics video. He does the mashups. He did a version of this, and he sampled, it's a mix of this song with the Steve Woodward Valerie. So it's really cool. I'll have to hunt it down because I can't think of it. But there's also been a bunch of DJ remakes of this song, as you can imagine, because it's got that feel. But no, I'm very familiar with this song. I almost think the remake is more popular here than the original.
Okay. The original from 2004 also famously has a very saucy video with people in 80s lycra workout equipment, and some of the angles are probably a bit saucier than they should have been.
That's what the guy who does the remake does too, because he does it in the Whitney Houston Bring Me a Higher Love. He does a version of that.
Okay.
And then he does another. I feel like he does some Donna Summer, but this guy does remakes. And it's like mashup kind of DJ mashups. I don't think he's like super popular. He's just somebody I found one time on YouTube and I like his stuff. But he does a version of it. And in the videos, they're all wearing the 80s aerobics. And it looks like they're basically doing Let's Get Physical but like an aerobic type thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, there we are.
But yes, I'm very familiar with this song, and it's a fun song.
There we are. Well,
and the guy has big hair.
Yeah, I'm glad that you knew it because I didn't know whether it was a US crossover hit.
I don't know that the original was. I think that it got popular with the remakes, and then people went back and sought out the original, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And then, of course, I know the Steve Winwood. That's what I was. Yes, Winwood. He's not like what's the grocery store that's like Worthing something in Europe?
Woolworths.
It sounded like that's what I was trying
Steve
to
Woolworths.
say.
No, I think Steve Winwood was in Traffic and other such bands. He didn't work in Woolworths. Can we just get that out there? I mean, Woolworths doesn't even exist as a brand in the UK anymore. Woolworths. If you imagine like Target, but with all the things you want to buy in Target taken out, that's Woolworths. And they just
It was a Dollar General Market.
Well, I mean, like Dollar General Market has stuff you might want to buy, but and Woolworths ended up just like being like weird home goods and pick and mix.
So Kmart.
Yeah,
Before
actually,
it, like, finally
there we
died.
go. Woolworths was like Kmart.
Before
And
they
what
died out.
happens is they were famous as well for having a large music collection in there, CDs, records, tapes, stuff like that. And then I think they owned the distributor of all UK record CDs and tapes. I think it's MVP. I think they owned that as well. And I don't know, it just slowly but surely people stopped going to Woolworths and then they went bankrupt. And it was like, really? Woolworths has gone bankrupt? And then you say, well, when was the last time you went in there? And they were like, oh, yeah.
That's literally Kmart. Same story. Remember they even tried those blue light sales towards the end or whatever? Whatever they were called, green light, blue light, something.
Yeah, and in the end, all of the Woolworths stores closed. The one in Hounslow, for our bingo card listeners, was famous. It was a huge concept store. It was absolutely massive. You could walk through it to the Treaty Centre at the other side, and all kinds of stuff went on in there.
People are like, I thought this was like a music podcast. I didn't know I was getting schooled on grocery stores.
I think the brand still exists elsewhere in the world. I think it's still a grocery chain in Australia. I think.
That happens. I was watching something recently about these restaurants, like fast food places that were popular in like America and the UK, and they died here, but they're still available in like random parts of Asia and like Africa. Weirdly.
Well, isn't it like Kenny Rogers Roasters still exists in Singapore?
That was the one. And it was there was another country they talked about, but it was an Asian country. For some reason, Asia is really big on chicken and specifically big on KFC and Pizza Hut.
Yeah, Hannah watches a lot of anime and she's engrossed in a lot of like Japanese culture. It's something that she's really into. And they often will have KFC as a special, like for Christmas, birthdays. It's a real delicacy. People love their KFC.
It's random to me, but to each their own. Yeah, Charlie, my husband, because we joked about Hannah and Charlie are very similar. He's big into the anime thing too. So there you go.
Exactly. To me, I have zero interest in it, but my wife likes it.
I don't
and it's
either.
all good.
Well, you know what? They like what they like. All right, Tim, what's the next song?
Okay. So I think for this one, I'm going to go back to 2001. So this is an early 2000s hit. And this would be Kylie Minogue, and I Can't Get You Out of My Head.
That's a favorite of mine. I don't know that it was initial. I feel like that was her main song that was popular in America. Because she's one of those artists, kind of like Kate Bush, that she was never like super huge here the way she is in the UK. Because she's very like larger than life in the UK, from what I understand.
Oh, absolutely. Because Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan as well, who was another person she acted with. So she was in Neighbours, which was a famous Australian soap opera, which I think was popular in Australia. I don't know. But certainly in the UK, that was absolutely massive. It was like as big as EastEnders or Coronation Street. Used to be on at like 5:30 or something like that. You'd come home from school, you'd watch children's TV, and then Neighbours would be on, and then you got into the 6 o'clock news. But it was huge, absolutely huge. And she was like the breakout star of Neighbours. And then she did a cover of Little Eva's The Locomotion, which was like her first song that she came out with.
I've heard her version of that.
Yeah, and then she came out with I Should Be So Lucky, and then she had all these albums that came out. And like you say, I think that she never initially broke the US market.
This song did, though, and this song's still used like in TikToks and stuff today, because you got that la, 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 that background song. It's used in like a lot of videos, like you see like reels and TikToks, and then can't get you out of my head, whatever. But this song, and I can even see her in the music video, she's wearing like a scarf thing around her head and stuff. Like this song is very distinct to me. It was very popular. If I had to guess, this would be her number one American hit. I could be wrong, but this would be the one I'd tag her as.
Yeah, I mean, this was a hit in the UK, but like, I think if I think of Kylie Minogue, I think of I Should Be So Lucky, which is probably her big initial hit in the 80s.
This song, though, is also an earworm, Tim. I will be singing that now that I just did the la la la's and I can't get shit out of my head. I'll be singing that for the next 6 weeks.
And it's also almost exclusively a D minor and an A minor chord all the way through.
Yeah, it's very distinct, and I think that's probably why it is an earworm. You know what I mean? Because it just gets stuck because it's that same kind of thing. Because I mean, and there's not that many lyrics to it, like, you know. There is, but there isn't, and it just opens with a lot of loss. But yeah, I would say this was probably a huge hit. I would have been 11 when it came out, and it still sticks out. But I think, and I could be wrong, but I also think it's one that's used a lot in movies and TV too. Like when they're in like a club or a disco or something, they're trying to emphasize early 2000s. This song comes on.
Yeah, I mean, it was everywhere. Certainly, when I was playing gigs in clubs and stuff in the early 2000s, this was something you would hear, and it was on TV, and it was everywhere.
Well, and she's wearing like all white in the music video, like the robe thing, like not a robe, but like a headscarf thing, and then she's got the bright red lipstick. It's just an iconic video too to begin with. I think that is a factor in why it's so memorable for people.
Exactly.
All right. Well, now that we've established Kylie Minogue's probably #1 hit in America, what's next?
Well, this is another one where this is like way out of my comfort zone. You thought the last one was out of my comfort zone. But this is from 2003. And this is from our friend 50 Cent, probably not his real name. And it is In the Club.
So, as you're well aware, he did the so have you ever heard about how many times, well, let me say this, he did the halftime show with Snoop Dogg this last time and Dr. Dre. And are you aware of how many times the man has been shot? Like literally shot.
To be honest, I know nothing about him other than I've heard of this song, if I'm being honest.
He's been shot, like, hold on. Let me see if I can find the amount of times. Like, of all the people besides my father's been shot 4 times. That's true, everyone. Shocking fact there, but it's true. He has been shot so many times. Like, this man has the worst luck. Like, he could just be standing there somehow and something would happen. We talk about me injuring myself, but at least my injuries aren't that severe. I mean, some of it is possibly gang related, but I've never really looked into it. Let me see. I'm just going to Google it live on air. How many times has 50 Cent been shot? Somebody else has Googled it. 9 times, Tim.
I mean, is he just hanging around with people he shouldn't be hanging around with, or is he just incredibly unlucky? Well,
one of them, he's just in front of his grandmother's house in Queens. I remember that one. But it says 50 Cent was shot 9 times all over his body, including legs, hands, arms, face, and chest. Wow. His legs were broken in several places, and he spent 13 days in the hospital going through this experience. When you get bad hurt, you either fear. That's just his quote. It doesn't matter. But yeah, like I haven't looked into it. I'm sure some of it was bad luck, and some of it was just people he was hanging with. Because, you know, that doesn't happen randomly to most people.
No.
But yeah, he's like... Somehow he's kind of like, he's just lucky. Because I mean, how many people get shot 9 times and are still alive?
Well, I'm glad he's here to tell the tale.
I don't know if lucky's the way I would say it. But I said lucky, but I mean, it's true. All I know is that's one thing about 50 Cent is he has been shot very many times. But I do know he did, you know, he was selling drugs at one point in his life. So that could be a factor. And he was like a boxer or something. Anyway, so back to the song. Have you ever watched the video to 50 Cent in the club, Tim?
No, I've only ever heard it and I've played it in breaks, but I've never seen the video to it.
So in it, he's like in like, it's kind of like a gym. Like it looks like a gym, but it's like very bright white. And he's like hanging down from the rafters in the gym, like upside down. And he's like doing sit-ups because, you know, abs. So he did that again in the Super Bowl halftime show. So like so they did like this thing at the Super Bowl halftime show where it's almost like they're on a train and like the trains kind of open up and then out of nowhere, you're not expecting it. He just like hangs down and starts doing the sit-ups again. And that's from the Get Rich or Die Trying album. So that would have been like 2003, which once again is right around when I was 13 and becoming a teenager, so it's right up my alley. I thought it was super cool in the club. And I don't know of anybody who doesn't know the Go Shorty, It's Your Birthday. I feel like that's used iconically and ironically in like TV shows, movies, everything all the time now.
Okay.
Tim's like, I have no clue.
Idea.
Wouldn't know if my life
no clue.
Don't even know what you're talking about. That was literally like an okay, like, right, all right, sure. At the beginning where it's like, go, shorty, it's your birthday. You don't know that, Tim?
No.
Oh, well, now I feel awkward. Let's go to the next song.
All right. Well, I'm going to go to another one from 2001. As we're sort of hanging around in the low 2000s, let's have another one from 2001. And this is a song by No Doubt. And, No Doubt started out as a sort of a ska, contemporary ska type band.
So hardcore ska people would debate that, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the Specials or something, but it's like it's to ska what Green Day is to punk.
It's very Mighty Mighty Boss tones type thing. Yes.
And this track, as I said, from 2001 is hella good. Are you familiar with that?
Absolutely. I'm a huge No Doubt fan. Hella Good is one of my favorites because I love the intro where it's like, when the waves keeps crashing on, and it's got that background. It's like one of the coolest, like, I don't even know how they did that exactly. I need to go back and listen to hear what instruments it is, but it's got a very distinct opening sound that I like. And then she's making like what kind of sounds like, I don't want to say breaths, but like some type of breathy sound on it. Mm-hmm. And it makes for a very cool intro. And this would have been 2001, 2002, something around there. Yeah. This is early, No Doubt.
Yeah, we tried to perform it in Moroccan Soul. Al, the bass player, was very keen on playing it. And he worked out how to play the bass part, but it never quite sounded right. And there's so much production going on in that song. And I
there's a lot of, that's what I said, I can't really figure it out. It has like a drum loop
going in it and synth sounds and stuff like that. It just sounded so empty. We never actually performed it. Well,
and her voice, Gwen Stefani's voice is very distinct, I think. She has like, she's kind of like Shakira. It's a very distinct sound, right? Mm-hmm. So unless you have somebody singing that too, it's going to factor in it. But I mean, it really does say like, you got me feeling hella good, so let's just keep on dancing. And it's just like, it's a very distinct sound. And then it goes like, dun, 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 dun. Yeah. I loved early. Well, actually, I just loved all of No Doubt. I wasn't super big on Gwen Stefani. I did like Sweet Escape when she did that song by herself. But No Doubt is probably an all-time favorite of mine. And I still think, though, if I had to pick one song from them, it has to be Spiderwebs.
Yeah, Spiderwebs is fantastic. It's from their album Tragic Kingdom, and that is a great album.
Well, and Hey Baby is pretty good, too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would go Spiderwebs. Yeah, Gwen Stefani. And that's actually one of those bands that's had like 47,000 different members, too. Like, I don't know if you know that, but No Doubt's had like 15 different members that swap back and forth. Obviously not Gwen Stefani, but and then Eric Stefani is obviously always been in there. But the other ones, they've all swapped back and forth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so. I wonder if No Doubt broke up or whether she just went off and did solo stuff or what happened with that. Because, in fact, I do have another song on the list, which is from 2004, which is Gwen Stefani, and that's Holla Back Girl.
Yeah. Well, as far as I'm aware, there was no breakup. She just decided she would have gone on her own, but I've never really looked into it.
I don't know if they're still out there playing as No Doubt or with a different singer. Or
she has went back and performed with them, but not to my knowledge.
Okay. I'm not super familiar. All I know is I really like that album, Tragic Kingdom. I do know that.
So the cool thing about them, or what I think is so iconic to me, I don't know how much you know about this, but on their website, back in the day, it was 2009, maybe 2008. They like toured during the summer, and this is when Warped Tour was right at its height. I'm trying to remember the name of the concert tour was. So she performed with like Paramore, Katy Perry, Panic at the Disco, like that. In that height, those bands all performed together for like one summer tour. Mm-hmm. I think that just kind of like. That would have been one of, for me, Tim, that would have been one of the greatest concerts of all time, though I didn't get to go. I don't know why I didn't get to go. Probably too expensive. Just being honest. But yeah, that was, I think that was during, I don't know. It was one of those, like, I don't think it was Warped Tour, but you know how like those big concert events were really popular around the Warped Tour time?
Yeah, it wasn't Lollapalooza, was it?
No, let's see. Because this was like their comeback. Because they kind of broke up and then they came back and then they went on with like Katy Perry, Paramore, Panic at the Disco. Let's see here.
Give it a goog, Joy. Give it a goog.
All right. Okay. So, I found it. No Doubt announced on their official website they would tour in the summer of 2009. With Paramore, The Sound, Shanae Monet, I don't know how to say that band, Katy Perry, Panic at the Disco, and Matt Costa, while finishing their upcoming album, which was set to release in 2010. As a special promotional tour, the band was giving away their entire music catalog for free with purchase of the top tier seating. That's all it says. It doesn't say what it was called. It was just a 2009 summer tour.
There we are.
That's literally what it was called. Oh. I can't find anything else. I mean, straight to the point, I guess.
There we go.
And I think it was like a Clockwork Orange theme. I saw videos, Tim. I lived through the moment vicariously, even if I couldn't be there.
You missed out, Joy. You missed out.
What did we say, Tim? If you can see him, go see him.
Absolutely. That was a
Don't
tip
skip.
Several episodes ago.
We have no clue how many. All right. What's the next one now that I can stop thinking about all the concerts I missed?
Okay, so this one is from 2002, and this is by Nelly, and this is Hot in Here.
Which we talked about in the Hot episode.
Yes.
Which is always a favorite. So you remember Nelly used to wear the Band-Aid on his face? Do you remember that, Tim? Have you ever seen him with the bandage on his face?
No, again, these songs...
I'm getting too far.
You should be very pleased that I know these songs, but I don't really know much else about these people on the whole.
For some reason, and I'm sure there's some reason, he used to wear a bandage, like a little square bandage right on his cheek.
Do you think he had a weeping wound or something?
No, because he would have had to have it for multiple years. Because that was like his thing. That's what he was known for. I think Ja Rule did the same thing. Maybe he had some kind of a problem with an ingrown hair and it hadn't fully come out. I don't know. I'm just thinking. I think that it was probably something that was cool at the moment that we don't understand. But that's the one thing I remember about Nelly. Now, also, I joked in the episode where we talked about Hot in Here before. I talked about how I knew every lyric to the song and then how the video, the Hot in Here. His other song that I love that I still know every word to is Country Grammar too. And to this day, I can't figure out why it's called Country Grammar because there's nothing in it that's country or grammar. Don't know, Tim. But Nelly he had a thing for that one. I don't know whatever happened to him or Ja Rule, actually, because they were I think of them in my head kind of similar. Mm-hmm. I don't know what happened to him. Is Nelly still around? He didn't die, did he?
As I said, I'm the wrong person to ask.
I've never heard of him dying, so I doubt he's dead. All right. Let's see here. Oh, Nellyville. That was the name of the album. And then there was Dilemma. Let's see. It looks like he's still alive, everybody. Hot off the presses.
There we are.
He's not dead.
He's still getting it done.
I didn't think he had died, but, he's one of those artists that just kind of disappeared.
Well, there we are. People come and they into the spotlight, and they disappear out of the spotlight. It's very transient at the top. There
was this music video. I don't know if it was Nelly and Ashanti. So there's this thing about Nelly and Ashanti. She was a singer at the time. They used to do music together a lot. And then Ja Rule and Kelly Rowland did the same thing. Mm-hmm. That's probably why I think of them as similar. And they both kind of had the same sound or whatever. One of the music videos, and I can't tell you which one, if it was Ja Rule or Nelly, or if it was Ashanti or Kelly Rowland, but there's this part where she flips up her cell phone. And when she's texting him, she's on an Excel document.
What?
Texting him. It's like, if you go back and look. So Charlie was talking about today, he said when he was in high school was when Google Docs came out, because I use Google Docs all the time at work. And I was saying how people can add and collaborate. You don't have to save anything. It automatically saves. Mm-hmm. Charlie said him and one of his girlfriends in high school would do that instead of pass notes when it first came out. And it dawned on me because of that music video. I was like, maybe that's what they were doing. We were all judging her thinking she was trying to send a text message, but she was just an early adapter of Google Docs.
Joy, when I was at secondary school, I had a wired telephone in my room, and I was very unique in that fact.
I thought you were going to say we had to Morse code to each other.
Yeah, we got involved with semaphore, with flags. We used to hang out the window. I'd do flag signals.
Right before Tim got the telephone, he actually had a can to the wall with the string that he threw his neighbor.
And what you could do, you could get a really long piece of string if one of your friends lived a little bit further away.
There you go, Tim. You're cutting edge technology right here, everyone.
I tell you, you'd never guess I worked in IT, would you?
I know, that's the ongoing joke. All right, Tim, what's our next song?
Okay, so this one is from 2006, and this is an act that I don't know what's happened to them as of late. They were very big for a very short period of time, and then they seem to evaporate, and that's the Scissor Sisters. And this is I Don't Feel Like Dancing.
Which is a favorite of mine. So I love the Scissor Sisters, but you're right. I do think they they do concerts though.
Okay.
From what I understand, they're still doing concerts because I love I Can't Dance. And then I love, what's the other one I'm trying to think of? What's the other song, Tim?
So I can't. They also did a cover of Comfortably Numb.
Take your
mama out.
Mama or something.
Yeah,
That's what it is. That's my other favorite. So they're known notoriously though for being like in gay clubs. Like that's their thing. Which I guess that their name may lead to that, but we're not going to talk about that. So I didn't think about that till I just said that. But that's what they're known for. They're known for being very big in gay clubs. But I Don't Feel Like Dancing is one of those songs that like I absolutely love. And for something that says I don't feel like dancing, it does make you want to dance. And the irony is there.
Yeah, and I think this was one of the first videos that came out. Well, not so much videos, but it was like a viral sensation because you could put your face in like a video and then save it, and then it would play the Scissor Sisters song, and then it would have your face dancing with characters on the screen. And it was a very early like viral thing where you'd email it to your friends. You'd upload pictures of you and your friends, and then you'd email it to your friends.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I kind of remember that being a thing, but that makes sense though why it would have been so popular because it'd been right around those early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
But I love them. I mean, they're kind of like a glam rock meets disco. I don't know how else to say it. Maybe a little alternative music type thing. But if you've never heard the Scissor Sisters, I'm very familiar with them. And she's talked a lot about their influences were like Queen, Elton John, the Beatles, which is like everybody's influence, right? And then Chic, which we've talked a lot about, Nile Rodgers, which really fits their song. But that's what they were big into, and that's where their sound comes from. Which I think if you've ever listened to them makes sense.
Sure, and I remember when they came out with that cover of Comfortably Numb, a lot of like guitar-y type people sort of thought, oh, you can't cover that, and it's terrible, and it's dance music and all this stuff. I've listened to it recently. It's actually pretty good. I like it.
That's the thing, though, is I think that we're quick to assume something's bad because it doesn't fit what we think the mold should be, but I like them. I think they're probably... As far as dance music goes, I kind of think they're very musically talented because they've got a unique sound.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
But the moral story is if you don't know the Scissor Sisters, I think you should go find them.
Yeah, I would recommend that. That's some good tunes to boogie to. That's
true. And then you can tell Tim your opinion on Comfortably Numb.
There we are. And if you like it, it's great. If you don't, it's good too.
That's fair. All right, what's next, Tim?
Okay, so this one, you'll be familiar with this, Joy. I put this on the list for you. This is from 2003. This is from Britney Spears, and this is Toxic.
Which I've heard there's been acoustics versions of Toxic. That's the word I'm trying to say, not toxic. Toxic. There's acoustic versions that are super cool. There's rock versions that are super cool. That song has been redone and remade 1,000 different ways. I mean, I still love Britney's version because it's iconic, but it's a great music. Like the sound to it works so perfectly that it can be done. I think anybody could perform it and perform it well if you just took the time to hear I don't know, Tim. Do you know what I'm talking about? Though there's like 74,000 versions of Toxic. Like I could hear Metallica doing a version of it and it would still be cool.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If something's a great song, it will work across so many different genres.
And Toxic's got that cool sound, you know. And of course, there's the music video. Britney's version is iconic. It's probably Britney in the height of what I love about her.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then of course, she's in the airplane. I'm sure you've seen that music video. I hope you've seen that music video, Tim.
Yes, I have seen that.
Okay, good. With the little blue stewardess outfit. I don't know what to say, but how did they make the sound? Like, is that an instrument in the background?
I think it's keyboards, but it's supposed to be like an orchestra type thing.
I was trying to figure if it was a synthetic.
Yeah, some kind of keyboard sound.
Because, like, it's iconic. Like, I don't know any other song that has that specific sound to it. And as soon as it starts, you know it's Toxic.
Yeah, you'll probably find if you have a Korg M1 or something, it's like sound C57 or something. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that's true. But it's one of those things that I've heard a million times that I've never thought about because it's what makes that song, though, so interesting because the fact it's supposed to be toxic, kind of poisonous, that makes it sound hypnotic, I think. You know what I mean? It gives it that sound that works so perfectly. But I do think that is a song that you could put in rock, you could do alternative, you could do acoustic, and I've heard it done across the board, and it's so good. I don't know who wrote that song. I'd be curious to see if it's one of those Swedish guys.
You know that there's some Swedish people that were involved in the creation of that song. You just know that.
I feel like it's the same one we talked about in the last episode. Let's see. Britney Spears, Toxic. Let's see if I'm right. Was written by
Swedish people.
Probably Bloodshy and Avett. Who are these people? Yep. Are a Swedish songwriting and production duo consisting of Christian Bloodshy Carlson and POTUS Avett Winden. I did not say their names right. Don't come for me, internet. I'm not Swedish. But yeah, we were right, Tim.
There we are.
Toxic comes from Swedes. I don't know what's in the water over there. I don't know what's in the water.
I've been to Sweden many times. I didn't write any great songs while I was there.
Maybe you have to try whatever their drink of choice is.
Well, I will tell you that the alcohol or beer in Sweden is incredibly expensive. Famously expensive.
I wonder why.
I don't know. And also, they have this dish there. Like people know about Swedish meatballs, köttbullar, the Swedish meatballs. But they have this dish where you get a steak and it's delivered to you on like a piece of wood. And then, like, it's mashed potato round the outside of this piece of wood, and it's like a cutting board. It's not just like an old piece of wood. And then it has this.
It's just a limb they took from the tree outside.
Yeah, and it has this béarnaise sauce on it. That's hard to describe, but it's. I remember having that many times and thought it was very delicious.
Well, there we go. If anybody knows the name of it, let us know. There's probably some fancy name for that dish. Yeah,
I don't know what it's called, but you go to a restaurant and like you order a steak and then you can have that as well.
Oh, look, Tim, I just found out something because I had the thing up about the Swedish guys. The song was written with Janet Jackson in mind, but was initially offered to, and I bet she regrets this, Kelly Minogue.
Oh.
Turned it down.
Yeah, I could hear Kylie singing that.
I could too. But that's one of those times, have you ever heard about artists turning down music and they're like, why did I do that?
Yeah, because I mean, they will probably be offered a lot of songs by various songwriters, and you cherry pick the one you want. You can't have them all. I
mean, to be fair, Toxic, like it's in C minor, like it's pretty much all in C minor. The song is, and it's got that cool sound. But I do think the way Britney delivered it made it different. And if somebody was performing that for you and offering you the song and they didn't have that, you know what I mean? You might not hear what's there.
Sure, and
I
also
guess that's what I'm getting at.
It depends how the demo was presented. Maybe the demo wasn't presented in a way that was appealing.
That's true. Well, maybe she had a bunch of other things going on. I've heard of other artists who get offered a bunch of songs at once and they have to pick. So
yeah, exactly.
Who knows? Maybe she turned it down, but that's where Can't Get You around the time that Can't Get You Out of My No would be the same time frame. Not even remotely the same. But anyway, yes, I love Toxic. And I still think it may be, when it comes to early 2000s pop, it may be probably the most iconic early 2000 pop song.
Yeah, I mean, you've got it almost in the same time frame as Kylie's "Can't Get You Out of My Head."
Maybe it's the American in me.
maybe it's your Britney love. That's what's coming out.
It's my Britney love. But I do think it's like the epitome with Kylie Minogue, though. That's true. You're right. But it is one of the, I would say, kind of defines that sound of the early 2000s. There we go.
Exactly.
Oh, some of the refrains were inspired by pieces like Flight of the Bumblebee, Tim. That's where they got that sound we were talking about.
Oh.
Have you ever, you know what Flight of the Bumblebee,
sure, yeah.
is? Yeah. I would have never thought about that. There you go. Hot off the presses, everybody. Whatever year Flight of the Bumblebee was.
It was
Wouldn't
probably
that
like
have been
1721 or something like that.
1800s or something.
Yeah, you know, we're bang up to date on this podcast, as you know.
Yay. What was it last time you were talking about something from the 1400s?
Yeah, it was Greensleeves.
Classic. No name music cast. All right, Tim, we got time for a few more. What's left?
Yeah, let's do 2 more and then we'll call it. All right, so this one comes from 2005 and this comes from our friend Madonna. And this is the song Hung Up. Now, are you familiar with that song Hung Up?
Yes.
And the interesting thing about Hung Up is it very prominently has a sample of ABBA's Gimme, Gimme, Gimme a Man After Midnight. And she asked Benny and Bjorn personally whether she could use that sample in the song. And she got their explicit permission to do it. They never normally do that. And they'd only given permission to a sample to another producer or artist. And this was very rare that they would actually allow that to be done.
Well, that's a great song because that was when she did the Confessions of a Dance Floor album.
Yes.
Which I'm very familiar with. I like that Madonna album, like 2004, 2006, something around there. But this stands out to me because Tim, did you ever use Yahoo chat rooms or Yahoo Messenger at all?
No, I was an MSN Messenger man myself.
So they had like what I imagine was the original emoji. It was called Yahoo Audibles. And it would be like a little head that would pop up. And there would be like a little thing singing, right? Mm-hmm. So me and Charlie were trying to remember those the other day. And when this album came out, there was a pack that came out that was Madonna. And you just see her like bobbing her head going, who's that girl?
Oh.
or you know what I mean? Or Hung Up, every little thing. And it was Madonna's head. I don't know how they got her to like, because she's weird about selling her rights about different things and stuff like that. So I don't know how Yahoo Messenger, but before GIFs or GIFs, whatever you want to call them, there's this thing it's called Yahoo Audibles. And I distinctly remember the pack that was all the Madonna heads. And it was a lot of this album. And then that one she did about time with Justin Timberlake. There's another song. It doesn't matter. Anyway, but the one I would always send everybody though was the who's that girl? And so when I think of this era of Madonna, I can't get those out of my head because I used to can't get it out of my head.
Madonna also famously around this era. This was a time when I think Napster was maybe over, but certainly like those LimeWire and file sharing networks were a big thing. She seeded a lot of tracks from her new album in file sharing networks. However, there'd be the names of the tracks and you download it and play it. It was just Madonna shouting at you for downloading stuff illegally.
4 minutes. That's what that song with Justin Timberlake was called.
Ah.
There you go. Not that it matters, but I'm trying to remember what it was called. But yeah, I remember I've heard of that. I've never actually, I wonder if anybody ever saved those. Because, like, think about if you had been on your LimeWire tip and you actually got the one of Madonna shouting, you might have deleted it not knowing what it was. And if you had that and you know now what it was, you probably would have kicked yourself if you deleted it.
I'm sure, like, on the internet, on YouTube or something, someone must have that somewhere. Because I heard about it and I downloaded one of these tracks from a file sharing network just to hear it. And it's just her just, like, shouting at you and being angry. That is what I think of when I think of Madonna. But that's very Madonna-esque. That and I always love her ongoing rivalry with Elton John. Those are my two favorite things. Not related, but anyway. But yeah, no, this is she's one of those people though. I mean, she's had a hit in like every decade for sure. Yeah, I mean, she's not like Cliff Richard, who's had one hit since the 50s, but certainly since when she came out in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. I mean, she keeps very consistent with her hit making.
But for someone who's probably what I consider a late 80s, early 90s star, right? Mm-hmm. I give that her kind of like time frame. Her 2000s album sold really well and were on the radio.
Sure. And I think it all started with that music album that she did and that music song.
Yeah. For those who don't know, it was like MISIK or whatever, right? Did she spell music differently or something?
I think it was just regular music. But it's like,
oh, I'm giving her too much credit. I thought she spelled it differently. Well, don't come for me, internet, if that was wrong. All right, Tim, what's the last song?
Okay, so I'm going to close out with a song from the year 2000. This is the start of my dance party in the year 2000. And this is from our friends Daft Punk, and this is One More Time.
One more time. Okay, I love Daft Punk, and this is a great choice. Gonna sell. It's one of those songs, though. I don't know that I've ever actually heard it played at a dance. Was it very popular when you were doing dance clubs? Because, like, I don't know that I've ever actually heard it played in a club.
Yeah, around that time when I was doing weddings and stuff like that, and you'd have DJs involved, they would play that, and then as I ended up doing break music and DJing weddings and things like that, I would play it, and people seemed to really enjoy it. I think it was a hit at the time, yeah.
Well, that's kind of what they're known for. It's just, I don't know that I've ever actually heard it played in a club. I've heard it played on the radio plenty of times. I'm trying to think of the one time gonna say. I can't remember anything past the first line, but that doesn't matter. I don't have any cool facts about this one, Tim. I don't know what to say about Daft Punk. I mean, everybody knows they don't show their face. They played with Nile Rodgers that one time.
Well, then they don't do anything now because they broke up and decided that was the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, they're from France, right?
Yeah.
That's all I got. I don't know what else. They're they keep to themselves, really.
So what we've learned from this is they're French. They keep themselves to themselves, and they don't show their faces.
And they once played with Nile Rodgers and Stevie Wonder on screen.
There we are. And ladies and gentlemen, with those facts about Daft Punk, those exclusive facts about Daft Punk, we will consider closing this episode out.
I have something, though, Tim. I have something.
Oh, okay. It's
a No Name Music exclusive. So a friend of the show reached out to me because she has not seen her No Name Music Cast bingo card number 2 posted yet. It sent me a exclusive photo of it and wants us to put it up on the Instagram. So
okay, this record will be over shortly, and I will be posting that bingo card. I thought I had posted it, and I apologize to you, Saz. I thought it was posted, but I will be posting it as soon as we finish this record, which means you will see it now, and then you'll hear about this in 3 weeks' time.
Yay! But I made a promise with her I'd bring it up this episode, so we would post it.
There we go. I will do that this evening.
All right, bye.